Malaya, at the dawn of independence in 1957. Tunku Abdul Rahman, Malaya's Prime Minister, along with his deputy Tun Abdul Razak, is tasked with leading the newly independent nation. Razak is appointed minister in charge of rural development, one of the toughest portfolios in the new government. His mission? To transform Malaya into a modern nation.
You must remember, he might have been a son of a major chief of Pahang, but he lived in a kampung. He was surrounded by poverty.
I think the government leaders were fully aware of the fact that when the British left in 1957, there was imbalance in the economy, and especially in the rural areas.
The rural areas of this country was almost completely neglected, and that was where the poor lived, the uneducated lived, the underprivileged lived.
Tun Razak realizes that there is only one effective course of action. He declares war on poverty. And if Tun Razak is fighting a war, he must find a way to direct his forces. He will soon prove himself a master commander. He models his strategy on the Malayan War on Communist Terror.
It was a war operation in order to ensure that we would know how the enemy moved. They had to be monitored and traced. And these were done in what was known as the Emergency Operations Room.
Razak establishes new operations rooms in strategic locations all over Malaya. They will become the nerve centers of his Kampong campaign. But Tun Razak is no armchair general. He makes time to visit the rural front lines. From the start, the minister insists on a punishing schedule.
He was never tired. He traveled the length and breadth of the country. He would visit the districts to begin with, and at that time I think there were something like 60 or 70 districts, imagine that, and he would go to each and every one of them.
He would cycle in the kampong, he would row the boat in the little lakes and the waterways. He actually led the community by his own action. It is the rural development of the country that could be stamped to be his and his alone.
Tun Razak's popularity owes much to a subtle mastery of political theater. He knows the people of the kampongs and that they do not value ostentatious display. So he develops a style that he knows will win over his people.
Tun Razak's trademark, I think, is blue jacket and the walking stick. I think it's so simple to wear, and I think he wants the people to think that he is part of them, because kampong people use very simple dress. He like to show that, he's not above everybody.
The bush jacket and the walking stick become Tun Razak's signature. Tun Razak owes a lot to his own humble village school, but he knows many kampongs have no schools, and without schools, village hearts and minds will remain trapped in the past.
His education report wanted to have a school in each kampong, in each village. It was a very ambitious plan at that time.
Tun Razak has a vision, but his ambitious plan will take time to work. In Kuala Lumpur, the capital, tensions between Malaysia's different races are becoming strained. Some Malays feel that independence has yet to deliver all they had been promised.
The Malays have often asked, what do we get after gaining independence?
Tun Razak will have to confront his biggest challenge yet. These simmering tensions begin to heat up when elections are called in early 1969. As the first results are announced, it is clear that Tunku Abdul Rahman's ruling alliance party has lost scores of seats in vital states.
I could say Tun Razak was very upset about it because I think it was unexpected to him. He must have sensed that things are not turn out not going to be as good as many people thought.
In Kuala Lumpur, even more serious trouble is brewing. In the elections, the Chinese opposition parties have made a huge leap forward, and many Malays are afraid. On May 12th, some supporters of the Chinese opposition party provocatively celebrate their triumph by marching through Kampung Baru, a predominantly Malay area in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. They, it is alleged, shout racial slogans. The fuse has been lit.
And they were celebrating already here, going around to Kampung Baru saying that the Malays, go back to your villages. We have taken over. Boy, this infuriated the Malays.
In Kuala Lumpur, the rising tension is palpable. May 13th, 1969, Tun Razak gets an urgent call from Harun Idris, the Chief Minister of Selangor, who lived in Kampung Baru.
He said, look, Tun, the Malays are very, very angry because they have rumors that Chinese has killed people, Malays in the Gombak and Kepong area and all that. And the Malays wanted to demonstrate also, to stage a counter demonstration. And Tun Razak told Harun, look, you tell the Malays, go back.
But it is too little, too late.
There were already thousands of Malays in Kampung Baru. And the next thing, unplanned by anybody, the rumors are that more Malays had been killed. And then, lost control.
With shocking speed, Kampung Baru is engulfed by violence, and Malaysia is in crisis. Taken by surprise, Prime Minister Tun Abdul Rahman sets up a National Operations Council to replace the government. He makes Tun Razak its director. Razak is effectively in charge of diffusing the crisis. It will be a supreme test and the making of a leader. On 15 May, he calls some of his key advisors to a meeting to try to end the crisis. The mood is tense.
I feel a bit scared, that the thing might turn out. Why should I come to KL with a pistol loaded, which is unnecessary actually.
Some call for even more drastic action.
It's a very hot meeting. The army generals were voicing their anger.
In this volatile atmosphere, Tun Razak becomes the calm center in the eye of the storm.
He was very calm, and I think that gives confidence to everybody. Because he knew, I think, that as far as concerned, everybody has a role to play in this country.
Showing great courage, Tun Razak visits Kampung Baru, the epicenter of the catastrophe.
We went to Kampung Baru, we see all these car burns on the road, and military all over the place. Then the shop near Kampung Baru burned, The Malays were in very angry mood. Somehow, but Tun Razak is very calm. He was very calm. He handled well. I see nothing happened. I don't know what is inside, but you can see the way he handled it very well.
When Tunku, the Prime Minister, made Razak National Operations Council Director, Tunku effectively gave Razak more power to act than himself. The fate of the nation now lies in Razak's hands.
He was ruling the country as it were, like a dictator. He had absolute power. Even the Prime Minister, Tun Abdul Razak at that time didn't have power. But the Prime Minister was there. But all legislation originated from him.
2 days after the riots, with no end in sight, the king declares a state of emergency and suspends parliament. For the first time since independence, Malaysia's elected government ceases to rule.
After a day or two of rioting, it looked as if we had no government.
Tun Razak now shows a tougher side. He takes immediate and resolute action, risking ramping up tensions even more.
Well, we went for major arrests of people who had contributed to the problems and people we knew were trying to exploit, like the secret societies, Malay extremists. And so we set up a special detention center for them on Pulau Rejak, Penang. So thousands were sent there. That removed the troublemakers.
Tun Razak orders strict curfews to keep troublemakers off the streets. Now, Kuala Lumpur is in lockdown. There are food shortages, restrictions, new rules. And then Tun Razak clamps down on the press. Any attempt to provoke more violence will be severely punished.
Cut off the ability to make the kind of expressions that cause people to be at each other's throats, you see.
Razak knows he must tread with care.
So it was important for him to make sure that the police and the military were in command of the situation. But always mindful that we're dealing with our own people.
But the old Tun Razak, who listens and learns from others, is still there, ready whenever he is needed. He sets up a national consultative council to tap into different points of view.
You won't believe it. A Buddhist association, inter-religious faith association, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Guides, the Parent Teachers Association, they were all invited. The opposition political parties were invited.
The new council is not just a talking shop.
Very hard-hitting arguments took place behind closed doors.
Thanks to Tun Razak's decisive action, calm returns. Many believe that the crisis is over. But then new tensions bubble to the surface, and they focus on his old friend Tunku Abdul Rahman, the father of independence. The crisis has led some to question Tunku's right to continue as Prime Minister.
Then I wrote to him, I think in language that is not very nice really, to make it clear to him that he was wrong in his assessment of what is happening in the country.
Caught in the middle of this will be Tun Razak. 1970. Malaysia has endured one of the worst crises since the communist insurgency. Deputy Prime Minister Tun Razak has calmed the storm. Now he faces a new struggle. The racial riots have led many to question Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman's leadership. Brash new voices begin to be heard, criticizing Tunku for being out of touch.
Then I wrote to him, I think in language that is not very nice really, to make it clear to him that he was wrong in his assessment of what is happening in the country. That people feel although he had fought for independence, that they feel that he didn't really work for the people. I feel I must tell Tunku that what he thinks and what is happening on the ground are two different things.
For Mahathir, a choice has to be made. Tunku or Tun Razak.
In the view of the Malays in UMNO, Tunku has lost touch with what is the feeling generally on the ground, whereas Tun Razak is much more away.
Others now turn against Tunku.
You became the father of independence. You live off that reputation, and nobody would ever point out to you that you are doing wrong. And there came one or two other person who said, "You've got a pimple in your face." And he would look at the mirror or ask his friend, "Do I have?" No, you don't, Tengku.